The title says it all. Perfection needs no review. If you haven't already heard, Bethesda announced yesterday that it's no longer going to provide review copies ahead of release for its games. As you might expect, there are some people in the games industry who are making a really big deal about it, really making a big deal about nothing. I, for one, am thrilled to see a game company that cares so much about its customers. Up until now, these reviewers have been getting games potentially weeks ahead of the rest of us, and not only is that completely unfair, but it also leads to huge spoilers. When those reviews drop, you get huge spoilers about how the game plays, how good the story is, how the graphics are, all the stuff that as gamers, we don't want to know about. We just want to pick up our game that we pre-ordered 6 months ago and play it unspoiled, knowing that nobody got to play it before we did. And Bethesda understands that. Also, people forget that Doom came out this year without pre-release copies, and it was amazing. Everyone was saying with 100% certainty that Doom was going to fail, and it turned out to be amazing. Regardless of what games that may have been true for in the past, I think we can all agree that this single occurrence proves that that theory is completely wrong. And obviously this is even more true because of the quality of Bethesda games. I could maybe understand the outrage if it was another publisher. I mean, I have played through some rough games in the past, particularly at launch. I remember one game, I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, but it was so broken on the PlayStation 3 that it basically was unplayable. It crashed constantly, I ended up losing a ton of saved data, and again, I wish I could remember the name of it. It had something to do with a wasteland, and it was a first-person shooter. Anyway, I can't remember the name of it, but it actually is part of a whole series that is just known for bugs and glitches and things like that. It's actually so bad that in the mod support for that game, there's an unofficial patch that fixes a bunch of issues that have never been fixed. If we were talking about a company like that, I would totally understand, but we're not. We're talking about Bethesda. Bethesda wouldn't release a game in that state. Even the journalists and critics complaining right now should at least be able to admit that Bethesda's quality control is pretty much second to none. And let's not forget, I feel like we keep forgetting, that Doom came out this year, and it was fantastic. Well, at least its multiplayer was. Don't get me wrong, single player was great too, but let's be honest, we all played Doom for the multiplayer. I mean, that's why they keep releasing all the multiplayer DLC. Obviously, if people just cared about the single player campaign, and they kept releasing multiplayer DLC, that would just be crazy. And frustrating. Kinda sad. Really sad. It's really sad. Anyway, the point is, from the moment we all played the multiplayer beta, we all knew Doom was going to be great. And even knowing that, some people decided that just because there were no pre-release copies, something must be wrong with it. It would be different if, say, the multiplayer beta had been bland, and people had had doubts about how the over-the-top gameplay might work, things like that. But that wasn't the case at all. We all knew ahead of time that Doom was going to be great, and then critics in the games media decided to freak out because there were no pre-release copies, and obviously Doom was going to fail, like they were 100% certain on that. I also think that some people are underestimating how important it is for real gamers to experience everything at the same time. For example, Skyrim Special Edition is coming out this week, and I'm relieved to know that reviewers aren't experiencing that before I am. I mean, there are YouTubers and streamers that have already gotten the game, and they're playing it, but nobody else is experiencing the game before me. Well, I mean, other than the people who already played it 5 years ago when it came out. But other than them, nobody's experiencing Skyrim before I am. Anyway, the important thing that we all keep forgetting is that Doom was great. We need to remember how great Doom was. Everybody keeps forgetting about Doom, which is why Bethesda had to remind us. Doom happened earlier this year, and it was great. Also, Bethesda loves us and cares about us, and we need to put our trust in them and all of their games. They have never let us down, and they never will. They deserve blanket trust. A trust blanket, if you will. Just curl up in your trust blanket and pre-order Dishonored 2. Go do it. It's what Bethesda would want.